Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Siobhan, and if you've been here before, then welcome back. I am going to, as the title says, be doing swatches of the Venus XS palettes. I just got these in today. I'm going to go ahead and scoop myself in and we will get started. So because I learned the first time I swatched these that these are either too close to my skin tone or a lot of them are just fairly pale or bright shades, so they don't show up fantastically on me. I am going to do each one in swatches on my arm, and then I will do eye swatches as well. The first one that we're going to do is the silver. So I thought these didn't have names. It turns out they actually have names on the back of the packages, which makes this much easier. Also, it is storming outside, so if you can hear that, sorry, I can't do anything about the weather, and I live somewhere that the weather is completely unpredictable. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Crescent. And on the website, this is a warm gray matte. So and I am actually going to try and use a shadow brush and see if I can just put this all over the lid so that you can get a better idea of what it looks like. These are pigmented. Again, they're just light colors and I'm super pale, so it's difficult to see them. If you are familiar with the formula of the other Venus palettes, I do think this formula is very similar, if not the same. And I don't know that that helped any. Okay. We're going to go ahead and just move on to the next color. So next color is Sterling, which is a shiny silver shimmer. So I am barely touching. I don't believe in doing like really hard press swatches. I don't think that those are going to give you accurate results. And on my skin, when the issue is that it is already a very light shade, it's just going to make my skin very red, and then you're not going to be able to see it anyway. So we'll try this on the eye. I'm just gonna see if I can put this all over the lid. The next shade is Plated, and this is a deep gray matte. And with these shades, it's obviously much easier to see in terms of pigmentation. I did also want to mention these don't have a mirror in them. And I also got the Lime Crime Birthday palette. This one does have a mirror. And while I am mentioning this, I do also want to point out the difference in the size of these pans. So these pans are 1.67 grams. These pans are 0.85 grams. So if you look at them, these pans are about twice the size. These are closer to the standard size of a Lime Crime palette. You are used to that pan size. Just be aware that if you purchase the birthday palette, it is going to have smaller pans. And then this is Gunmetal Shimmer. And then this is Gunmetal Shimmer all over the eyelid. I will probably try to keep mattes on this side and shimmers on this side, just so that I'm not getting too much glitter in my mattes. I am using a different brush, even though I'm using a color switch in between, because I do realize that some glitters are going to stay in the brush. So that was it for the Venus XS Silver. Next, we are going to do the solid gold. So here's the solid gold. I'm swatching these in the order that the shades are listed on the Lime Crime website, so that I can look at the shade names without having to keep picking up the palette and turning it over. For this one, it was pretty easy because it just started here and kind of went around in a circle. For this one, it goes here and then here and then here and then here. So, and they're not in alphabetical order. For a second, I thought maybe alphabetical order. I don't know what it was that made them decide to do that in a weird order. Since there are so many shimmers in this collection, what I'm going to do is at the end, I will go ahead and put some primer on my arm, and I will do brush swatches. That makes more sense to me than doing finger swatches over it. So I'll do brush swatches with the shimmer shades over primer at the end. So the first one that I'm doing from the solid gold is Gilded, which is a solid gold shimmer. The next shade is Aureate. which is a golden glow shimmer. This is really pretty. If I was going to use a gold highlight, this is what I would want it to look like. And you can see on my super pale skin that that really is more of a highlight than it is of like a shadow. It'll be a good inner corner color, or I'll just end up finding a way to use it as a highlight. It's so pretty. So the next shade is Treasure, which is a deep brown matte sparkle. This shade, when I did my finger swatch in my first video, is the shade that I was most surprised by, just because of how well the sparkle comes through for a matte shade. It's just very, very pretty. So putting it on the eye, it definitely lost the sparkle and just became a brown shadow, which is more of what I would expect. However, I suspect as well that with a primer, I'll be able to get the glitter. So when I do the shimmers, I will go ahead and do that one as well, just so that we can see how it does with a primer. The final shade from this palette is Trinket, which is a warm matte brown. These are very different browns, so they're going to complement each other very nicely. So our final palette is the Rose Gold palette. And again, they did a weird thing with the shades. So it's going to be Divinity, Charm, Angelic, Eternal. The first one is Divinity, which is a rose gold shimmer. I'm going to do shimmer and matte. I'm not going to go in the order that they have them on here. I'm going to do this one, which is Angelic. And then next I will do this shimmer here, which is Divinity, and then Eternal. Angelic, which is a warm nude pink matte. So this is almost just the matte version of rose gold. Probably one of the closest examples of a matte version of rose gold that I've ever seen. And spoiler alert, this is my favorite palette out of the bunch. Part of that is definitely because it is the one that shows up the best on my skin. Also, I'm really drawn to these colors. I feel like they really bring out the blue in my eyes. The first pink that I did is definitely Charm, which is a deep rose shimmer, not the rose gold shimmer. So the next one is the rose gold shimmer. And this is Divinity. With this one, we are going back to the brighter colors, which means that it does have a more difficult time showing up on my skin tone, but it is very, very pretty. So our final shade is Eternal, which is a pinky mauve matte. So I went ahead and took off the shimmers and just left on the rose gold. I did start swatching on my arm using primer. And unfortunately, the memory card was full. So I'm just going to go through these real quick and tell you what they are so far, and then I will continue. So the first one here is Sterling, and then Luminous. This one's Orate, and then that one is Gilded. For primer, I'm using the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. I am on Treasure. Yeah, you definitely get more of that sparkle. So this one is Divinity. And this is the rose gold color. This one is Charm. Which might be my favorite shade. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it's rose with like a little bit of a gold reflect. So there are all of the shades as far as the shimmers. With primer underneath them. So primer does help even on my super pale skin for the colors to come through. These are very, very pretty shades. The rose gold is my favorite. It's the one that I think just looks best with my eye color. It's the one that I think stands out the most. But I will definitely get use out of all three of these palettes. I will also do a swatch video on the birthday palette. The birthday palette will most likely just be arm swatches, since about half of the shades are not eye safe. It is a pressed pigment palette, so almost always if you come across a pressed pigment palette, it is going to have items in it that are not considered eye safe. When it is just a matter of the actual pigment itself, so like the orange in here, this one here, this one here named 10, is just an orange matte. That one is undoubtedly just considered not eye safe because it'll probably stain the eye. And I don't care about the staining, that doesn't bother me. But some of the other ones, like Rose Burst and Blue Sky, until I swatch them, I'm not going to be sure. These may have larger chunks of glitter in them, which is what makes them not eye safe. And if they have glitter in them that is not considered safe for the eyes, I'm not going to put it on my eyes. With pigments, putting it near your eye has some risk, but again, the largest risk there is staining, and I'm not terribly concerned about staining. However, I would not want to get a piece of glitter in my eye. So if you are somebody who just ignores whether or not glitter is eye safe because it's glitter and it shouldn't matter, the difference is that glitter is made with little chunks of plastic, and if it is not a glitter that has been deemed eye safe, you can really mess up your vision. It can get stuck underneath your eyelid and scratch and scrape up your actual eye. So it's not something to mess with. If you ended up with scratches, it might not be, the be all end all of your vision, but you could end up with little micro scratches that could get infected and you could end up blind. So make sure that you keep that in mind. So for my micellar water that I use, I do want to just mention this. So this is the Bioderma Hydra Bio. Once again, not sponsored, but I love this, and it is the first micellar water that I ever used that actually worked very easily and with no effort. So I'm not even pushing that hard, and this is not about these shadows not having good stay power. This is how this always takes off makeup. And I just get mine off of Amazon. I get these big bottles. They usually last a few months, and I think they're $14. If you are international, you can also get it off of the Beautylish website. You could also go to bioderma.com. I am very pleased with these shadows. So I'm going to go edit so that I can get this up. I hope that you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Bye.